Okay. I hereby call to order the meeting of the Capital Projects Committee for July 13th, 2026. I'm going to call the roll. Well, present. Budget Director Mark Brown. Here. Controller Kevin Harvick. Chair Tim Myers. Here. Majority Leader John Gilmore. Finance and Management Chair Mike Schoen. Minority Leader John Mills. Here. Deputy County Executive Lisa Schmera.
Here.
Commissioner Bill Geary. Commissioner Dan Castle. Here. Commissioner Troy Schinzel. Here. Gives us 7. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting of July 6, 2026, a copy of which is included in your packet of materials. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? So moved. A motion from Chair Myers or a second from Minority Leader Mills. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, we are going to move into the project presentations. They list DPW first because DPW is involved in every single one of them. We're going to move them to the back. Sorry, Tracy. So we're starting with health, medical examiner. So you come up to the podium and introduce yourself for the people here as well as those that are watching it online.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Bowler. I'm the Chief County Toxicologist at the Medical Examiner's Office in the Toxicology Laboratory. The Toxicology Laboratory conducts forensic toxicology testing for all of Erie County, as well as contract counties such as Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County. The function of the Toxicology Laboratory is to provide quality scientific analysis and expert testimony for postmortem cases. These are cases provided by the Medical Examiner's Office, such as overdoses, homicides, and accidental deaths, as well as human performance toxicology, including driving under the influence of alcohol and or drugs, and drug-facilitated crimes. This is sexual assault cases where drugs were suspected. These analyses carried out in accordance to the state of New York Forensic Laboratory Accreditation Program and ANAB, which stands for American National Standards Institute National Standards Board. Some of the duties of the laboratory are analyzing samples, processing data, research and experimental studies, testifying in court, and proficiency testing. Sorry, excuse me. The laboratory currently uses the following instruments: 4 LC-MS-MSs, 3 GC-MSs, 1 GC-FID, 1 ELISA, and 1 LC-QTOF. The instrument LC-QTOF, or quadruple time of flight mass spectrometry, provides high resolution accurate mass detection along with MS-MS fragmentation. This addition of the fragment ion matching to exact mass detection provides higher confidence in drug identification. The laboratory uses this instrument for drug screen by LC-QTOF procedure. This method is designed as a qualitative, which is positive versus negative, drug screen for blood, serum, and urine for over 100 drugs. Some of these drugs include, but not limited to, acetylfentanyl, prazolam, amphetamine, cocaine and its metabolites, ketamine, fentanyl, methamphetamine, morphine, oxycodone. Not only does this method monitor commonly occurring drugs, but it also is used for new and emerging drugs such as novel benzos and novel opioids that we see in Erie County. This is one of the only instruments used within the laboratory that has the capability and sensitivity to do this. The instrument currently used is a Waters LC-QTOF. The drug screen by LC-QTOF is routinely assigned to all postmortem cases, as well as driving under the influence cases and the DFC cases. In 2025, that was roughly 1,200 cases. The laboratory's water LC-QTOF is over a decade old. The laboratory recently received notification that the manufacturer will no longer be providing service after 2026 due to the instrument being discontinued and parts no longer available. Preventative maintenance and service contracts, which we have on all our instruments, are necessary to keep all the instruments up to date and producing accurate and reliable results. This is especially important when these results may be used in assisting to assist in determining the cause of death for postmortem cases. They might also be used to confirm drugs that are suspected when people are pulled over and they're taking certain drugs. The laboratory reached out to multiple manufacturers for estimates on newer versions of this LCQ-TOF instrument. So the laboratory is asking for $411,738.78 to cover the cost of an updated instrument, plus installation and training.
Thank you. I did have a question. You have a quote expiration date in here of 7/9/26, though this would of course not be purchased until 2027.
Yes.
Are we confident that the dollar value would be honored by this entity?
Yes, they're aware that this is a whole process and we wouldn't be able to change the price next year.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think just the comment that would it be correct that this is probably one of your most utilized pieces of lab equipment? That's what it sounds like.
Yes, it's assigned to all the cases that we receive.
And if you weren't able to get a replacement, what would happen?
So we wouldn't have that feature. The LCQ-TOF has a feature where you can look for, so if a pathologist comes back, they suspected an overdose, but they have routine testing and there was no drugs that would cause this overdose. We're able to look back and see unknown peaks that might be there, or the lower peaks that might be there, and determine if there's a newer drug on the market that are in batches that people are distributing. It also confirms a lot of drugs that we find to be able to go to court and testify that we actually did see these drugs.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll do sheriffs.
Good afternoon. First Deputy Superintendent William Whalen, in charge of the correctional facility. I'm going to speak on the project for the correctional facility first, and Captain Uzinski with the Holy Center project. So, good afternoon. I'm here today. Our project at the correctional facility is a total camera replacement. Our camera system out there currently is very old. Some elements of it are almost at 25 years of age. Completely old technology. Basically what we're looking to do is to replace the head-end control center that would control everything. And we would have a total of 369 cameras when we're finished. Currently, there are 25 housing areas in the correctional facility. Only 3 have cameras in the housing units. So if there's an incident in a housing unit, we have no way to go back and look to investigate that. This year alone, as of June 18th, we had 66 inmate-on-inmate assaults. Our current system only covers the hallways, areas outside the jail, and not all of that. None of our program areas have cameras except for chapel. So this it leads to a huge vulnerability. And it can affect us down the road. The county receives lawsuits all the time. We can use these cameras to refute that. We can also go back and investigate. There's an incident the other day at the Holy Center where camera footage, they were able to find a suspect with that. Currently in our housing areas, that wouldn't be possible. It's not a cheap project. It's currently at $5.1 million. Unfortunately, this technology does get more expensive every day. I think I've been up here, this is the 3rd time. Basically, that's what we're looking to do. When completed, the project, we'd have a modernized system. And currently, I don't believe there's any plans to build a new facility. I believe we're going to be in Alden for quite a while. So this is really something that needs to be done.
So this would replace not only the individual cameras, but the entire system?
Yeah,
It's
the
like
entire
a
system,
control
yeah.
board, so to speak?
The control board, storage, it's servers, everything, yeah. Our current system's pretty obsolete. It's difficult to use. We'd have to basically replace the head end and start over. I mean, we're at that point, the age of this equipment.
So the question I have, obviously, we know that you've requested funding for this for the last several years, and part of the thought process on that was, you know, the potential of a new combined facility. In this case, though, like I know when you had requested the funding in 25 versus 26, the change in price was about $800,000, and this time
We
it-
added.
Okay, so the question
Yeah.
is what changed?
So the original number was 264. So we actually went around and did a security audit. Our new
Okay.
superintendent actually worked in state corrections for 30 years. We identified a lot of areas. The PREA law, basically Prison Rape Elimination Act, requires that you have cameras in areas where things can happen, not housing areas. We added all that. So the grand total of cameras has actually gone from 231 to 369. So it's more.
Okay, so more expensive and
More licensing. Yes, exactly. That's why it jumped up that amount.
Will this reduce the amount of constant observation posts that need to be manned by the sheriff's office?
Yes,
Right
and
now,
no.
theoretically, you have one deputy per
The
person.
way our setup is in Alden, currently, we are only allowed to watch one inmate at a time.
Mhm.
And the way our cells are, New York State does not allow you to use electronic devices for that. However, if we had a step down, it would be an inmate that maybe we could deem not be on observation, but be like in a smaller area. Yes, we could use cameras to help with that, absolutely, which also cuts down on your staffing costs. And I mean, just the lawsuits alone, I mean, if you have a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, if you could prove it's frivolous. We have body cameras now, they're effective, but they're only effective when they're turned on. And if it's a total false claim, a deputy is not going to activate or seal their camera. You know, plus people act better when they're being watched. It's just everywhere in society. You know, we're just really far behind the curve.
Is there any way to, you know, phase this in? Like, is there like, you know, a main
Yes.
component of this
Yes.
where this needs to happen and then this other would be something
So the
where?
control center, we could do a phased-in approach if required, where you build the control center and you put so many cameras and then you can expand upon that.
Would you be able to provide like the estimates of what that
I
phase
can
in
get
would be?
that. Yeah, we can do a phase-in.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Center. Yes, sir.
Hello. Captain Uzinski, Erie County Holding Center. It's for the capital project for our camera upgrade. Similar to the correctional facility, except we're not as in a bad spot as they are. We already have IP cameras installed at the holding center. So us switching to this new system is much easier and less money than the correctional facilities. They have a lot of analog cameras. We have pretty much all IP cameras. So our upgrade is much more advanced because we're already one step ahead of that. You need 180 days of retention for your video systems. That's statewide standard. And if you have a critical incident, all video from that critical incident, any recordings, any documents, video, audio, whatever, needs to be put in an incident package for that. It is very time consuming for staff to figure out where a person is throughout the entire building. With this particular upgrade with the Vigilon, which most of the county is going with in this room, all of your different agencies are going to be running a vigilante as your camera systems, or your front end, or whatever you want to call it. You can give it a picture of who you're looking for, inmate, staff member, whatever it is. Put it in the system. It'll find every single camera in the system for that 180 days of where that person was. Right now, both facilities have to do it by hand, actually follow them around. It's very time consuming, very cost prohibitive, but we have to do it because that is the law to do. So we're stuck doing that. This is way easier. Put a picture in, it starts compiling everything, and then you have your results with the least amount of staff, cost, overhead for us to do with the assigning staff members to go and do the camera systems, which we only have very few that have expertise to do that as well. So it's a very high price tag. I get it. A little over $1 million. But the benefits of how much you'll save and all the research with the new camera system, with the Vigilance setup, is way more beneficial for when you're talking about cost and your cost versus value.
Thank you. So the request is for basically a computer storage system which will then allow the existing cameras to send the information and be better stored.
It's like six, it's very wordy, I get it.
So 6 storage servers?
6 storage servers.
So those it's not
180
cameras, it's
terabytes.
actually, because it's Dell.
Because all the cameras are already there, we have the infrastructure already, and we have the higher end 2 megapixel or better cameras that are needed for facial recognition. So, plus when you get to the storage servers, if you want to hit the mark of 180 days, which is required, you have to throttle back your frames per second. So instead of being, let's say, 30 frames a second, which is VHS quality, back in the day, DVD is 60 frames a second. It'd be around 15 or 18 or so. So you don't want to lose that because then it's, jagged image type thing, resolution's low. It's harder for the facial recognition to go through and actually run through in the system.
Any other questions?
Are there reoccurring costs related to this? Obviously, once you buy the equipment, the servers and all of that, but you're using a new, I'm assuming, proprietary management system that may have reoccurring
So
costs.
we have UNS with the county.
Okay.
There are on-site vendor support, and they will be the ones that actually install this as well as maintain it through support.
Okay.
So the support contract is tied in with the actual cost of it, that kind of thing.
Okay, so this Avalon is the equipment or hardware that you're using, but that's not going to be like a reoccurring vendor supporting.
Avalon is, I'm sure all you have camera systems, you're running Pelco or Gentech or something on your end for whatever whatever you're running. And it'll be a Vigilon, which is going to be countywide. You're all going to switch to probably a Vigilon, everybody in this room. The way it's set up with UNS, it's probably the most economical, plus you have the great ability to do the facial recognition to find everybody you're looking for in an incident or a crime, anything. The Vigilon's like the software company package of it that's replacing Pelco and Genetech with us.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. We have a community college.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, Madam President, if everyone could identify themselves for the record.
So good afternoon again. I'm the president of SUNY Erie. I am Forget. Jim Frankhauser, Facilities.
And Eric Munes, the Vice President for Enrollment Management.
I'm Tracy Sahaki. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Buildings and Grounds.
You notice I have a whole team here with me. I'll let Jim Frankhauser present the college's capital request.
So, number one, we're asking for a, help with VTTC upgrade. We're asking for 10 million. It would help. We are closing South Campus, so we'd be moving, out of body over to VTTC, the whole infrastructure. It would help with, we need a new roof, some HVAC equipment, institutional needs, student phases.
And just to add to this, this is our one of our largest program in the college, as well as it has been serving the community. And so we have high demand. Our students get a job after finishing both their certificate or a degree. So this investment, would allow for us to even enroll more students in the program. And just lastly, combining the auto tech and the auto body together, where historically it was two separate, would also allow for us to make sure that we are responding to the industry. So this is a huge investment in terms of getting more students to participate in that program.
The proposal lists this as a 2-year phase project at $10 million a year. So what's going to be spent in year 1 if this was to be approved, and what would be spent in year 2?
So the request is for $5 million to be matched by New York State at $5 million as well. Just to clarify that, with the scope of the size of this project, it would be a phased project. What was it, Young and Wright we're working with? We have pre-design done. They estimated, they gave us 3 options: 7 million, 14 million, 21 million. So base, middle of the road, high end. Figure be moderate, go towards middle of the road. That's at 14 million. Plus, it does not include FF&E. So the second phase would be next year would be to complete construction and to support some of the FFE for the
So what is
program.
first year?
First year's 5 million with match from SUNY for 10 million. Start the project.
To what?
It's an entire interior renovation of the VTech building.
So to be more specific, though, we are going to focus on the auto body. So we have identified 2 locations within the auto tech county exec, and that is our goal, is to make sure that that's the phase 1, because we did deactivate that program currently until we have the space. So in terms of priority, it will be the auto body. We have identified the facility, the space specifically that's going to meet the auto body. So auto body first, and then to redo the auto tech side of it.
What happened? What is being used or done with the existing VTech equipment that is at south right now?
At the auto body. So that is, we're doing an analysis on that. It is really costly for us to actually take that. It is also outdated. So it's not necessarily beneficial for the college to take everything. But part of what we're doing as we deactivate it is to look at the curriculum. There are some new equipment that we're asking from SUNY through the grant program that they have. But more importantly, we will do the curriculum first to see what we need. Right now, we are just working through to teach out those students that are in the auto body.
Anybody else? Okay, next project.
Do that.
Master plan? Next request is for the student area facility master plan. This request is for $3 million, seeking a $3 million state match from New York. It'd be used for, funding would be used either for the Gleasner Hall window and door replacement, which is the last building at the North Campus that hasn't had the storefronts replaced. And that project is ready for bid. Design work has all been done. Other than that, there's the design for the Noonan building roof replacement, and we want to get started on design for the ECCD air handler units that are in need of replacement.
We had just had a meeting earlier today in which you talked that the vast majority of the work that you felt needed to be done would be done at city. So is this being investing in city, or is this investing at north?
The plan is to do both, county exec. There are some priority at north in terms of some of the roofing that needs to be taken care of, but we are looking at city now that we're almost done with the Skylight project. And as city is really pertaining to the classroom infrastructure that has not been invested in, as well as some of the ADA accommodation. At city specifically, the college focus only on certain bathrooms at city, but then the other bathrooms are not, have not been done. So they will be split between the two locations based upon needs.
After the work that is completed this year is done, what is actually essential? How much would that be?
It would probably be the HVAC equipment at city. I don't have the cost broke down on that.
Yeah, design still needs to be done.
Yep.
Any other questions? If not, go to the third project.
Our last request here is for the SUNY Erie North Sports Fields. This request is for $2.5 million, again with a matching state funding. And be used for the next phase of this project. It includes the incorporation and renovation of the Bell Center and possible addition of a softball field to the complex, depending on funding. This funding would also be used for design and construction.
So we just finished phase one.
Yes, sir.
Phase two is going to do what?
Phase two is focused on NCAA compliance, concessions, locker rooms, restrooms, pathways, some landscaping also. Designs at about 90% for that right now. And we have funding in place for construction.
So there's no fields that will be constructed with phase two.
No.
Phase three, you said Bell Center as well as
Possible addition of a softball field.
softball or hard?
Soccer ball.
So
Yeah,
just
soccer ball.
Sorry about that.
Softball.
we didn't lose the softball portion
No,
of that.
you know, it would be a new baseball field.
Baseball, sorry.
So is this a request for additional funding for that phase three? It's, you know, we did phase three.
The phasing's a little messed up on
Okay.
this.
That's what I was.
We're a little ahead.
Okay.
I mean, phase two of construction, like the county executive was saying, is for what's been designed, what we're gonna start for.
Okay.
Most of it's focused on NCAA compliance. Then phase three, what we're calling it, the design needs to be done yet, but that's the evaluation of the Bell Center, the hardball field. And we're off a little on the phases.
Yeah, because it went from phases 1, 2, 3, and then started then with 3A and now 3B. So I couldn't tell if this is, you know, once you've gotten it designed, that it's going to cost more than you anticipated for the original phase, or these are, you know, actual like next phases of the project.
Yeah, we would focus on the baseball field last and work on the ADA locker rooms, restroom.
In the meantime, the current baseball field is still being used and was
Correct.
not.
Would this be the final phase of the sports field projects, or are there, you know, an additional aspect could happen? I mean, outside of like cost increases and unforeseen, like in terms of the actual planning, is this the final request for the sports fields, or are there going to be future?
We anticipated requesting funds next year as well.
And again, I think just to kind of bring it back, this is a huge investment as it relates to our students. We get a huge number of students who actually come from New York City. And so we have been attracting a lot of students, and our retention and graduation rate with students within athletic has been in the highest compared to our normal students population. But the other thing is really to create a sort of a belonging for the college. So this investment is not just for those individuals who are playing sport, but it's also for the college to make sure that we have an opportunity for our college community to participate. In addition to that, this is also a field that we could work with our community to be able to use the field and be able to open up to even more opportunity, including some of the high school students that we will be able to rent to and generate some revenue. So this investment is not just for the college, but also for the community at large.
The only thing I'd probably ask is that, because it is a little confusing with the phases too, because I'm looking at the book of the prior approval, which was phase 1, 2, 3, 3A. It would be helpful if you could actually spell out what was done with each of those phases. Once again, what the plan is for this. And that would be good.
Certainly.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Tracy? Probably need more materials. Okay, now we get to the meat of the meeting, which is buildings and grounds. Page 59 of the book. Oh. Before we begin, are these in priority order? The way they were submitted is project 1, project 2, project 3.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, first submission I have, this request is for $3 million, for countywide roof replacement and exterior waterproofing. Condition study is part of our roofing term agreement and design is currently underway. Results will yield a prioritized list and funding provided for 2027 will determine project selected to proceed with construction. The Rath building upper roof will most likely be the highest on our priority list, based on the condition, lack of a warranty, but also 77 West Eagle, Old County Hall, windows, weights and measures roof, and public safety exterior. I have a list as well, but we're waiting for those results from our study that's ongoing right now. And the request is based on our estimated replacement of the Rath buildings.
What are we working on right now, finishing up?
Roofs, we have multiple going. The Kinter roof at ECC. Just family courts finished. The convention center lower roof is part of the microgrid project that's going on there.
I guess the question I'm asking is, do we ever stop doing projects on an annual basis?
No, we try and get them on the 25-year warranty with the liquid poured roof. We've made some decent headway, but that never ends, it seems.
Any comments or questions? Next.
Second
Project.
Just before Tracy goes on this one, just a note on the convention center improvements is that, this project is completely subsidized by the hotel occupancy tax, revenue. So it's generally a project we will be doing every year, but Tracy can give more, information as to exactly what the plan is for.
Is that next on your list?
Yeah, I have
It is
number-
Romania. Yeah.
Maybe that isn't a priority. That'd be less than my priority list.
Well, it's one that we're expecting, to do, so.
Okay, well, the request is, based on numbers provided to me, is for $3,765,633. Funding for this would be used to support the ongoing microgrid and electrical upgrade project going on. They're also in need of a new dishwasher replacement, which we have at about $500,000. Exhibit hall floor repairs and possible chiller replacement. That's being evaluated right now, but that's turned into a large problem.
It's not listed in this, but I believe that there is going to be a substantial HVAC improvement in the future. Is that correct?
More microgrid, the battery
That
backup.
stuff on the top of the building, that
The lower roof.
chillers, yes, that stuff.
The chillers are what they're just starting to have problems with them in the last couple of weeks. I'm actually waiting for Jeff to reach back out and trying to help them out. But that wasn't part of the plan initially.
It wasn't part of the plan.
But it may be part of the main plan moving forward. I haven't met up with them yet. That's a relative.
What is it from a building envelope that is the biggest concern there, right?
Building envelope would be the upper roof. That's monstrous. That's a very large roof. We're probably gonna have to save up that hotel occupancy tax a couple of years to be able to. The lower roof is getting replaced as part of the microgrid project.
Any other comments? Next one.
The next one I have, request is for 2.5 million. This is for preservation of county buildings and facilities. Currently DPW is evaluating conditions of the elevator cars at Old County Hall in 1225 Delaware in conjunction with our design consultants. Scope of work and bid documents will be prepared. Receiving these funds would allow us to go to construction, where we realize we're going to have a complete replacement of the freight elevator at 25 Delaware. However, there's numerous other elevators at both facilities, and they're anywhere from minor repairs to just, large renovations. So they're determining the scope of work with that. 2.5 million is the request to proceed with construction once those documents are.
In the description, it also listed EOC bunker decommission. Is that still included, or is that being taken out based on the needs elsewhere?
We left it on there. It still needs to be done, but it hasn't really made the priority list. Still have staff going there. We have we've shut down power and stuff. The sheriffs have moved out for the most part, but a lot of things have squeakier wheels.
Are there any issues then with is there an issue with the sort of status quo of not doing anything with the bunker that would cause greater costs in the future?
We're just restricting access.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just shutting down, trying not to use power, water, anything like that.
Elevator maintenance or modernization. This is a want, or is it a true need? 25 Delaware and
The freight elevator is a need. The rest I would categorize as wants. Freight elevator's original building. Some of the Douglas elevators are brand new.
In there and, making it work.
It's a sketchy one. It costs us a lot of money and upkeep to it, but maintenance, it's been a problem for a while.
any other comments or questions? Next project.
Next project is a request for $2 million for countywide mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Numerous projects are there in need of design or already have design awaiting construction funding. Amount received, again, will determine what we can proceed with. High priority projects that I'm looking to fund is the rooftop unit at the AA building at the Public Health Lab, air handler upgrades at the Rath building, $25 boiler replacement, numerous plumbing upgrades at multiple buildings, family court chillers, and $25 cooling towers all need to be replaced this winter.
And what will be covered by the $2 million if we do that, or is this all stuff that would be, some of it would be included in phases? Not really phases, but years.
$2 million would definitely cover the AA building at Public Health Lab, which is a high priority right now. I kind of push that up to the top of the list with this in this request. But other than that, I'd say the family court chillers are running out of time, and $25 cooling tower. Those are original to the building. The chillers have been upgraded. The cooling towers are original.
Where is there a cooling tower?
$25 on the upper floor and the 8th floor. You go there, it's a mechanical room, and then there's an outside area, the southwest corner. There's 2 cooling towers.
Similar to like the 5th floor here in the red building.
Yep. It's the old party floor at $25.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, well before my time, before your time. I remember I used to wash windows and I used to back in early 2000s. I'd go to get roof access. I'm like, what is going on here? I used to smoke up there and everything. Yeah, southwest corner, there's 2 extremely old cooling towers.
Okay, any other comments? Number 5.
Next I have Willowdale Park miscellaneous renovations. This request is for $3 million, and this would be used for design and construction to focus on the roof replacement for the main clubhouse and some other, facade weatherization measures. But numerous leaks currently exist, and to preserve the integrity of the building, a new roof is needed.
And you said design construction, so this would cover the whole thing, design and construction?
Yes, sir. It's a combination. There's a slate tile roof. That's the bulk of the cost. then the flat roof would be a little cheaper, but we've talked to our roofing contractors and got rough estimates.
In general, that building is in better shape than we thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I still think if we don't get funding, I think there's some measures we can take to waterproof it. I'm not getting anyone to bite on putting a tarp over it. I know that might be a little bit of an eyesore. I have all the windows pretty much boarded up now. Sealed up, but yeah, I mean, the bones of the building are good. The kids haven't been getting in there lately, I don't think.
It's not advertised.
Yeah, no challenge.
Forget about it.
Any other questions or comments?
Are you replacing slate with slate?
Sorry?
Are you replacing slate with slate or no?
I would look into the options. I don't know if we have to. I don't know if that's building's historical. Still kind of looking into that, but there are replacements as long as it looks like it. Can be it'd be accepted, but we might need to provide it. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Next one is a request for 1.5 million. This is for countywide code and environmental compliance, and buildings and grounds being the authority having jurisdiction. County maintains compliance with governing building codes or in accordance with New York State Fire Prevention Building Code. We also use this funding for on-call contracts required for compliance, including hazardous material testing and special inspections. Also include, this is a little more than we usually ask for, but it includes the sump and pump replacement for all of our fueling sites. 6 of them. But we have a firm quote from that our environmental consultants recommend we do sooner than later. That was quoted out at $750,000 on state contract. An additional tank replacement, the remaining underground tanks, design funding for that in the amount of 250. So that's the extra $1 million pretty much we're asking for now.
The underground store, the tank, that's one tank or?
There are 3 left, or 2 left.
You know where those are?
Self-protection is 1. Collins. Self-protection in Collins.
I'm trying to think of what's it, self-protection. Is that an old?
It's an old highway barn. They're like satellite barns, but they are refueling stations. Yeah, and most of those they actually use the salt barns and the fuel there quite a bit for the ones that are manned.
If we were to not replace that, would we still have an obligation to remove the tank?
I would have to get back. It depends on the integrity of that specific tank. I'd have to get. I don't feed you a line.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Next is preservation of county highway facilities. This request is for 1.5 million. Funds would be used for both design and construction. Design is currently underway, and funds are needed for the sanitary sewer connection at Clarence and the relocation of the water supply line at Hamburg Highway. Design is needed for the eventual demolition or renovation of the Clarence facility once a determination is made on what's going on there. Also, salt barns are in need of replacement at Tonawanda and Collins.
Why would we do this sanitary sewer connection at Clarence if we're decommissioning the Elizabeth building?
There's multiple buildings.
I thought the whole thing was being shut down.
Truck garage is still used.
Lancaster.
The truck garage is still being used. I believe they're still using the office at Clarence. I think long-term use of that building needs a little clarity.
I would agree. Okay, any other questions? Too bad our commissioner is not here, or deputy commissioner.
He's probably watching on TV, right?
You always say.
He's on vacation. He needed it. Next request is for rec building improvements. Request is for $1 million. This funding is needed to continue the much-needed electrical upgrades in the Rath building. Upon completion of the microgrid project, which included the replacement of many of the main electrical switches on the 5th floor of the building, we intend to keep the momentum going by replacing all electrical distribution panels throughout the building. Preliminary design work has already been completed and any funds received will be used for construction. Plan is to start on the 5th floor, work our way down to the sub-basement, and then go back to the 5th floor and work our way up the tower until all the main distribution panels and the electrical closets are replaced.
Are these original to the building?
Yes, many of them, except for the 9th floor that we replaced that started on fire. And everything on the 5th floor is brand new, and we'll be commissioning that project very soon. It's pretty sharp, what a difference.
And if you could remind me, the fire was caused due to
Loose connections within that, there was arcing going on in the main bus bar.
that's a result of age.
Age, panels being used, a lot of those panels were used as light switches. Using the breakers. There's a switching duty breaker that can be used like that. These are not switching duty breakers. So you go and you have like almost a half-inch of play in those breakers, and that looseness results in hot spots, results in arcing.
Sounds like some fire dangerous.
Yes, and we've gone through all of our panels. In conjunction with I believe it was Buffalo Engineering that did it. They scanned all of our panels and gave us hot spots, and we did address some of that, but they again recommended we replace them all, just age of
The building is 50 years old.
1968. So, yeah.
It's more than 50 because I was born in 67. So all right.
In there. All right, next one. Any other questions? Energy conservation implementation. This would be for another phase. Request is for $3 million. Funding would be used to continue identifying energy conservation and efficiency improvement measures at various county buildings that reduce utility consumption. Project is structured so that the utility savings and energy reduction incentives pay for the project over a negotiable time period based on the project selected.
What buildings would we be looking at this point?
Well, with money from last year, we're looking at botanical gardens for the boilers. We look at all of our buildings because a building that may need lights can help fund HVAC at another building that has new lights already.
Are we expecting a nice little check to be provided with regards to the rebate savings from previous projects?
Yeah, we have got some. I think that there is another one coming. The big one that's coming is going to be for the microgrid because that's structured as an energy performance contract also.
Yeah, a fair amount of the remaining money is actually supplemental dollars for some of these credits and rebates that are recycled back in.
Any other questions, comments? Next one.
Next one is for a new highway facility. This request is for $13 million. Funds would be used for site-specific design and construction of a new highway maintenance building located at Harlem Highway. Building design would mirror that of the new Lancaster Highway barn. It's a decision if you want to build a new building.
Would there be any proposal to take down existing buildings to build a new one, or is this just taking existing land?
It would be removal of some of the buildings as well. I don't think there's any way we can do it. We've started some site-specific design, just haven't gotten too far into it until we get a green light that we want to proceed with construction. But it would involve removal of the truck garage and maintenance building. The HVAC would stay, most would probably stay where they are. Weights and measures would be unaffected.
I would ask you and our friends from highways to show what would be staying or not after hearing about money to be invested in Clarence. We built a brand new facility in Lancaster, and now hearing we're still using some Clarence, which is a 100-year plus facility. I think we'd all want to take a look and see what the actual plan is for that site so we commit to a massive project. I know a lot of the problem with buildings are old. I don't mind thinking about doing an investment into a new facility, but I don't want to keep up old buildings that we still then have to maintain and spend millions of dollars in the future. So ask for that information. Okay. Another big one.
Yeah, another one, this request is for 10 million. So we all know that very extensive repairs needed at both the correctional facility and the holding center. Most of my high priority needs are big ticket items such as new backup generators. Holding center needs new windows, updated gate controls, and just many more. I intend to utilize the jail design term agreement, which actually responses are due on the 17th. It's this week. Right? And they're going to help us design and prioritize projects to maximize whatever funds we get towards these two facilities.
So this, this request is, generally in anticipation of what this term agreement and this sort of,
Yeah, we advertised already. We're going to have responses on the 17th. And we're going to have the selection committee meet, rate them, select who we're going to go with, get legislative approval for that. And if all that happens, tell them generators and windows go. I mean, I know those are major problems. We already had a fire at the holding center with the generator, made some repairs with that. Windows, I didn't want to make it public, too many comments, you know, but they're in need of replacement. They're delaminating. They're unreliable. And
Other, to your knowledge or our colleagues here, the sheriff's office, are there any areas of concern that would require shutdown that were not fixed?
yeah, there are some areas that are shut down because of windows right now. Some of them I can't even come up with a plan or get a vendor to replace it. It's just
In the holding center?
Correct. It's that most of the issues are at the holding center. I mean, there's definitely some out in the correctional facility too, but the holding center is just, it's considerably worse than the correctional facility.
So,
I'd be interested, to have taken a look at what the debt service would have been on a large project. Which I think, based on the look of $10 million annually, the debt service even on a $450 million project spread out over 30 to 40 years. It's probably going to be the same or a little less, or a little more, I should say, than what we have to spend anyway. Just
yeah, I forgot what.
And over there, it's the most I feel that my staff can manage. But that's kind of what a couple of these are. If we got that.
Well, I know what you're saying. There's a lot that could be done.
Yeah, you saw my list. It's still going.
Any other comments or questions? Well,
All right, next request is for $200,000 for IT and GIS services. Funding would be used to support the IT systems and to implement a work order system, including necessary hardware expenses, and incorporate GIS to vertical locations as they're using it in highways. The commissioner is really interested in taking it vertical and incorporating it into a work order system to bring us up to speed in the modern technology.
If I remember correctly, at least in the commissioner's business area, there was some funding a couple of years ago related to development of a work order system. Do you know where that stands?
We've collected all the information they gathered, everything they did, and I gave them the boot for lack of deliverance.
Okay, so this would be sort of re-engaging that process.
It would be, yeah, it was a long process to get them. We didn't, spend all the money that was tied to that contract. We had to walk away. They didn't deliver. We got all the information, so a lot of our assets are documented in the database, and young lady on our floor that handles most of that data entry has all of it, made sure we got it before we ended that contract. But yeah, they switched ownership and stuff during it. I didn't know.
Is there any sort of recourse? I mean, you're not the lawyer here, but.
Oh, they didn't. They didn't give us a finished product, so we stopped paying them. They only went with billable hours, and that was out of the commissioner's professional services.
Okay, yeah.
So.
any other comments or questions from Tracy?
Just one tongue in cheek. What buildings don't we need to do? Are there any?
This building, well,
No.
Hopefully the new Lancaster Highway barn,
Okay, there we go. The new Lancaster Highway.
Well, there's still,
I was gonna say, it's still.
we gotta pave out there.
Oh,
There's paving that needs to be done, and I had to hook up electrical that was forgotten about for a while. It's never, anywhere.
it just feels like in a lot of these asks, at least this year, maybe compared to others, I mean, we're talking about a lot of major issues that if we don't address them now, we're gonna address them later, and it's gonna be even more expensive. I mean, everything seems to have an envelope to a degree. Or may cause a fire.
Don't know about any funding from years past or anything?
Okay.
I'm prepared for that.
That was the end of the presentations for the day. Are there any members of the public here in person or on the video conference who would like to make a comment? Hearing none, we'll close the public comment section. The next meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 10th for a vote of the recommended 2027 capital program. I'm going to ask our budget director, we do have a date slotted for potential callbacks. At this point, we don't feel that it's necessary.
That was gonna be the question I was just gonna broach. We certainly have two opportunities for potential callbacks, but it did not seem through this process that there were any projects that required.
Members of the committee, do they feel that there's necessary for a meeting to have callbacks? No. As long as I think they provide the additional information that was asked at the meetings, we should be fine. So the next meeting will be scheduled on Monday, August 10th, with the recommended program to be included in the 2027 budget. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Motion from Chair Myers, or a second? Second from Minority Leader Mills. All in favor, signify by stating aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. See you on August 10th.